All right, let's put more perspectives on this particular issue. The Joint Parliamentary Committee of Parliament, consisting of the Committee on Agriculture and the Trade, have been investigating this. There are now calls to have a judicial commission of inquiry to do this, saying that Parliament cannot effectively do this. I'm joined by governance expert Kevin Osido to shed some more light on this particular issue. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And also we shall be having Hesbon Omolo coming to us from the county of Kisumu. He is an activist and an accountant as well to give us his perspectives on that particular issue. All right, let's now listen to Musalia Mudavadi, the party leader of the Amani National Congress, speaking about this. He has been one of the first leaders of political figureheads to call for the formation of a commission of inquiry to look into the sugar scandals and other corruption scandals.
As people speak, they keep on thinking that this is a political contest between one camp and the other. So the message and the solution that I'm proposing to the Kenyan people is that save us from the politics. Let us have a public commission of inquiry where facts shall be laid on the table and individuals shall be brought to answer. And that way, we shall know whether somebody is innocent or is complicit in this process.
All right, let's bring in Kevin Osido. So the narrative from some quarters is that the probe by the Parliamentary Committee, the Joint Committee, is not working or is not efficient. Do you think a judicial inquiry is the way to go? And how effective will that be?
Thank you so much. One of the biggest challenges that we have as a country is two things in my view. One, that we have in the past have had lots of commissions, many who in fact their findings and recommendations have not been effective, to use the term which you have just brought in. Number two is efficiency. We have lots of commissions that therefore from the public perspective is really meant for just siphoning of public funds, because people have a feeling that the commissions that are supposed to deal with institutions that are supposed to deal with the war on corruption are quite effective, to the extent that we have constitutional bodies, for instance, EACC, we have the ODPP, we have the DCI. All these are institutions that are therefore charged with the responsibility to be able to discharge this very great mandate. However, from the perspective of the citizens, we don't feel many of these commissions that are being put to the fore. But I like the fact that His Excellency the President is now coming out to be quite much more interested in the war on corruption, because from a presidential perspective, I think he's more or less interested in a legacy that is going to ensure that Kenyans will remember him for many of the things that bedelve this country, and one of those is corruption. So the President really, in my view, the presidency therefore becomes another institution that needs to sit at the apex. And I think regardless of the number of commissions that we establish, the man for whom Kenyans gave the highest mandate and moral authority therefore is the President, and he needs to come out to be seen to be doing much more than we are seeing going on.
So there have been a lot of accusations being directed towards Parliament. Some people accusing Parliament of being used by these cartels to not do anything meaningful to probe some of these corruption scandals. We have had the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Opio and I, the other day in Parliament, to the floor of the House, saying that some of those cartels are right here in Parliament. So do you think that Parliament can really probe this? Do you think that those people who are saying that they're merely scratching the surface are right?
I believe that, I think they are, because if you look at, and of course borrowing from the past, we've had parliamentary, probes that are being done by parliamentary committees that have not been effective. And one of the biggest challenges that these committees have been able to deal with is conflict of interest. One which is political, to the extent that if you are a member of parliament who, for example, is being probed by your colleagues, you therefore have a feeling that you will be faced with lots of leniency. The second thing is political narrative, which then is one of those biggest challenges that really, if we are going to rely on the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee or the Public Accounts Committee, JLAC or PAC, or even Public Investments Committee of Parliament, I believe that we might not see the end of light of this committee's findings, because this is also not new. If you borrow from what we saw happening with the first scandal on NYS, the same committees, up to now, Kenyans are still asking themselves, how come people whom we, in the view and in the eye of the public, they thought there was quite enormous evidence for people to be convicted, but the same people are the ones who are now holding very high-level offices. So I think Parliament is a good institution to deal with this, to the fact and to the extent that they are able to set up legislations and also exercise some bit of oversight. But I don't think that they have the wherewithal to be able to deal with some of these issues because of the two reasons, really, political interest and conflict of interest.
Let's bring in Hesbon Omolo, accountant and member of civil society, joining us live from Kisumu. Thank you for joining us, sir. So what Mudavadi has been suggesting is that a commission of inquiry works in tandem with the DCI, with the EACC and the DPP. Do you think this is tenable from where you sit?
Thank you very much, Ben. I want to look at it in two ways. It is possible to have a commission of inquiry that would be able to unravel the problem. Unfortunately, just like Kevin has indicated, this problem is deep and it starts from the very top of our country, that is the executive. The president has shown the goodwill that he wants to fight this vice. Even without that commission of inquiry, we can be able to deal with this corruption menace in the sugar sector and deal with it firmly. So yes, we can be able to follow that route and get to the bottom of it, more so because there's a lot of politics that has come in, especially on the disputes between the parties in Jubilee, that is already weighing in. But again, if you look at the body language of members of parliament when they interviewed one of the suspects, or rather one of the key persons of interest in this matter, you could tell that there was something that was not looking right. So I think from my perspective, that could be possible, but again, it could also be a waste of time, going by the history that we've had on matters to do with the commissions. Way back from the period before independence, the first inquiry on maize, these things have been with us for so long. But more specifically on sugar, I would say the rain started beating us a long time ago. As early as 2015, we knew there was an intent to kill farming, or sugarcane farming in Kenya, when we did away with the sugar development levy. That was flying in the face of the COMESA safeguards that we had requested. The sugar development levy was supposed to help give cheap products for farmers in terms of facilities, loans, in terms of inputs. Now that is gone. Now you want to bring an inquiry when now we have more than 400 tons of sugar imported. That is half the consumption that we need as a country. So I think there is a lot that has gone on over the last few years that some do not even need inquiry. For example, who doesn't know, and the reports are there, that 42% drop in production of sugar happened last year. All after recording the highest in our history of 632,000 metric tons in a year, or rather tons in a year. Now, why did we start going that trajectory? You can see it in our sugar factories, the way they're being run, especially the public ones. But I welcome the idea that we should have a judicial commission of inquiry so that we can be able to separate the issues around politics and the facts around how this importation was executed.
All right, thank you. So from where you sit, a lot of these things can be investigated even without a commission of inquiry. Let's take a quick commercial break here on News Centre. When we come back, we'll put more perspectives on this issue. We'll talk about what is wrong with the parliamentary probes as we see them in this country. And of course, what are some of the pros and cons of a judicial service, of a judicial commission of inquiry? We have seen quite a number of these. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is News Centre. Stay with us.
This is KTN News.